In this episode of the Technique Tuesday, we're going to talk about how to find your overhead position for snatch and especially overhead squats. All we need is a broomstick, and when we progress from the broomstick to a barbell, you can take a barbell as well. To find your overhead position, the much easiest way you can do is taking the one hand on the broomstick to your shoulder, kind of a front rack position here, and straightening the other arm to the side. And now we have got like this angle and this position. When you go overhead from this position, it's pretty much the overhead position you need. The second way, what you should think about as well, is your hip contact. So if this is against anything, especially in your puber, that could hurt when having contact in the snatch, for me it fits perfectly fine, then you should either close in the grip a little bit or widen the grip a little bit as well. So usually in the overhead squat, wider is always a little bit easier on the overhead mobility, but it's also harder on being able to support the weight from a strength perspective. So especially in the shoulder, you always want to be in some neutral position, and when thinking about finding the best balance between inner and external rotation, you will find that out a little bit better when having any weight pushing you down. When having a broomstick where you're able to just moving it into space however you want, because it's too light, you will not really find out if the position of your shoulders is fine, but you will find that out if anybody starts pushing from the top or if you have any more weight over you. So to find your overhead position is definitely starting here, having from shoulder to the straight arm, then going up, and from here, testing as well if that fits on your puber position here, that you don't hit the bones or something else if you're a man, you know what I mean. So especially from here, when doing overhead squats, then the third test you need to make sure that this overhead position fits for you is going down, and if your mobility is good enough to get into an overhead squat down here. This video is especially about your overhead shoulder position, not about your hips or your lumbar spine, about your ankle mobility or something, just about your overhead position. And usually doing these 3 steps, starting here, going there, and then testing how this works from that perspective, is usually enough to make sure that this overhead position works for the beginning of snatch and clean and jerk. When you progress in snatching and overhead squatting, you will find out what is the best position for you. Probably not on the broomstick, but when you're going to take a barbell, you have got those collars. When we're on the barbell, and you've got those marks, and usually when you're going to start snatching, you will always remember, or you should remember, how far is your thumb away from these marks down here. This is why they are there, just to notice where your hands have to be. And from here, that's kind of the same position I introduced the time before. That's a hot position. It's this. Going overhead. It's a little bit wider than the broomstick one. And here fits perfectly fine into my hip. From here it's totally easy. And now I find out how my shoulder position should be in this overhead squat. It's a little bit more pushing me down. Feels way better than the broomstick. The broomstick is just not enough weight. And from here you can start thinking about how to get stronger in this position once you find out what's the right position for you. That's all I have in this video. I guess that's all you need to know about finding your overhead position for snatch and overhead squats. And if you want to get more input about getting better in your technique, especially in the sports of Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit, just subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked what I brought to you in this one, and just have to put the bar down because I get exhausted. And first time Technique Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope I will see you in the next video.